So I've been doing a little mini series here on reading a credit card processing statement. And to finish things off, I really want to talk about cash discounting and surcharging, which is a very hot topic in this industry. On an average month right now, I would say that at least 5 to 10,000 merchants every month are signing up for some type of cash discount or surcharge program. So it's time to talk about what are these programs? Do they work? Is it a good idea to try it out? Okay. So first of all, these programs, let me explain what they are. If you are adding some type of a fee to increase the cost of an item at the register when someone checks out using a card, okay, so if they don't pay with cash, they're paying more. However you're doing that, that is either cash discounting or surcharging, okay? I'm not really going to get into too much of the detail of the difference between the two. I'd be glad to explain that to you, but I'm not going to do that really too much in this video. But the idea here is, the concept is we're going to take the cost of credit card processing and we're going to pass that on to the consumer, okay? Now, to illustrate the effect of this on a statement, I actually created a different URL. If you go to examplemerchantquote.com/cash, all lowercase, examplemerchantquote.com/cash, you can actually, I just put an example cash discount program in there, and you can literally just run that if you want to see what it looks like. You could also go to examplemerchantquote.com/surcharge, examplemerchantquote.com/surcharge, and you could take a look at that as well and see, okay, how does it compare surcharging versus cash discounting, okay? So the key that you're going to find there is that the savings are enormous, like huge savings, probably somewhere in the range of 50% all the way up to 95%. That would be saved. So if you look at a statement and the statement has fees of like, whatever, $500 a month, probably if you did surcharging, it might be $250. You'd cut it in half. And if it was cash discounting, it would probably be $50-$60. So huge savings, right? Which is why so many business owners are taking advantage of it. But most business owners are smart enough to look at it and go, what's the catch? What's the deal with this thing? And so the question is, are these programs really a good idea for a business to try? So what I want to do today is I want to, first of all, help you to understand what a statement would look like that had this, so that if you have a statement with this, you can identify it. And then I also want to help to answer the question of, is this worth a try? So let's start with the statement first. The statement is going to be set up in one of two ways. Either, number one, it's going to be set up in such a way where it's very, very simple. It actually doesn't even have a bunch of information about all the different costs associated with processing. It just is going to have a few monthly fees, maybe a terminal rental cost, something like that. But it's going to be very, very low. Just a few flat fees, maybe a couple of other things in there, but it's really not going to show very much information like maybe other credit card processing statements on Interchange Plus or tier pricing, okay? That's what's called escrow billing. So escrow billing means that the credit card processing company is actually paying the fees on behalf of the merchant account. So they're collecting the fees from the consumer out of the terminal, and then they're paying those fees on behalf of the merchant, so they don't have to report as much on the statement. The second and much more common type is a statement that looks kind of like a normal statement, actually, and it shows all the volume, the number of transactions. It may even have an interchange table. It'll just kind of show everything. But what will happen is, on that statement, it's going to show discount collected. And so it's a daily discount where every day the processor is pulling a certain amount of money out, a flat rate, usually 3 to 4% that they're pulling out every day. Then at the end of the month, it'll say, here's the total fees that you owe. Here's the total amount that we already collected from the consumer. And then here's the remaining balance that we're going to debit from your account. And if those two numbers, the total fees due and the total amount collected, if those two fees are actually pretty close to each other, most likely, and obviously you're charging something, your customers that pay with cash are paying less, then you're probably on some type of cash discount or surcharge program, okay? Now, the next thing I want to share with you is what's the difference between cash discounting and surcharging. So again, not getting into a lot of detail here. I'm just going to give you the highlight, which is there's an argument in our industry over there's surcharging rules that say you cannot surcharge, you can't add a service fee or a surcharge onto debit cards, signature debit or PIN debit cards, or even prepaid cards. You can only add that service fee or surcharge onto credit cards, okay? So some in our industry have decided that they want to go with those types of programs that they know are compliant with Visa rules, that are just very simple, cut and dry. Cash discounting is actually covered under something called the Durbin Amendment. So something like maybe you'll see a non-cash adjustment fee or something like that on a receipt that a merchant would get. That a consumer would get. So if you start to see that, that's probably a cash discount program where no matter what type of card it is, they're going to pay less if they pay with cash. So a cash discount, the difference is that the consumer is paying the processing cost on signature debit, PIN debit, prepaid cards, credit cards, reward cards, everything. The consumer's paying the cost on all of it. And in that case, on the statement, really the only thing left that's owed is maybe a few monthly fees, maybe at a cost for equipment, something like that, but usually less than $100 in total monthly fees. And it's a flat cost where it should be about the same every month, no matter how much volume is processed, because the consumer is the one really paying those processing costs. Okay. So that's the difference between surcharging and cash discounting. Both are totally valid, in my opinion, as of the time of this recording, but I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. I just believe both programs are valid and they have their place. Some states, you wouldn't want to do one or the other because there's certain laws that would ban that and restrict that. So the thing I will tell you about these cash discount and surcharge programs, as far as should you give them a try, is actually that first, you need to make sure that you understand what it is, okay? I put out many, many videos. You go back and look at my channel, all the different videos I've done about this issue. Lots of really good information about surcharging and cash discounting. Are they compliant? Which states does it work in? I also have workshops that you can go through. I've got training courses you can go through. You can just email me, james@ccsalespro.com. If you have a question, somebody from my team or even myself will reach out and either answer your question or point you in the right direction to get the answer to your question. So number one, you just want to make sure that you're doing the right thing in your state that's in compliance with Visa rules and that makes sense with the laws in your state, that it's not illegal what you are doing. And by the way, I will say, of all the merchants I've seen that are doing these programs themselves, meaning I'm just going to throw a sign up and start collecting money. This seems like a great idea. I've never seen one of those that was compliant. Never. Okay. And if you don't think that you're going to get shut down as a result of that, you're mistaken. Visa and MasterCard are very much about this. And all it takes is one consumer to complain to their bank or to the card brands and say, hey, this merchant has this surcharge sign up. I don't know if it's compliant or not. I didn't like that. They will research. If you're not compliant, you're going to get slapped with a fine, and there's going to be some consequences, okay? So you do want to make sure you're compliant. Again, shoot me an email, james@ccsalespro.com. Glad to answer questions for you about that. The other thing that you want to, when you're looking at these programs, that's really important is that you need to figure out if the fees that you are collecting from the consumer make some sense, okay? You don't always need to have a flat, 4% fee, which is the maximum allowed. So you don't always have to have a flat 4%. And so you need to make sure that the fees that you're charging do make sense. Now, there is a cost of processing that's a little higher for these programs. And so sometimes it is a little bit on the higher end, usually is, but it doesn't always have to be at the absolute highest. So if your volume is really high, you're doing 50, 60,000 a month, it might make sense, to have a little bit of a lower, maybe 3.5%, 3.25%. So make sure you look at that service fee. Now, here's the question that I have the title of the video. Should you give these programs a try? And the answer very simply is yes. Notice I didn't say you should stick with these programs forever, but as a business owner, when we're talking to business owners, many of you even might be business owners watching right now, these programs totally make sense to give it a try. Why? Because the data so far has showed that business owners who try these programs out, 90 to 95% of them still have these programs in 60 to 90 days later. Meaning they tried the program out, their customers didn't really care about it. They really don't have to, the merchant now doesn't have to pay credit card processing fees anymore or much less, and they didn't lose any revenue. So it's definitely a win-win. And again, the market is definitely shifting that direction. To give you an example, the country of Australia right now. In Australia, 62% of all transactions are surcharge. So this has already been a big thing over there. It's going to be a big thing here in the States. The only question is, how long is a business owner going to pay these fees before they jump on board and give it a try? So go to examplemerchantquote.com/cash. Then go to examplemerchantquote.com/surcharge. Check out the difference in these programs so that you can kind of see for this particular statement, what would the savings be? And then shoot me an email, james@ccsalespro.com. If you have any questions, again, I can't personally respond to every email I get, but my team will definitely help you out, whether you're a sales agent, you're an ISO, even if you're a business owner and you have a question, you can reach out. We'll be glad to try our best to help you. My name is James Shepard. I hope you have an awesome day.